Someone collapses on a crowded subway platform. 40 people are standing right there. Nobody moves. You've seen the video. Maybe you shared it. You told yourself you would have helped. But the real answer is far stranger than that, and it has almost nothing to do with whether you're a good person. This is the bystander effect. It explains strangers on a platform. It also explains you. In 1964, a woman named Kitty Genovese was murdered outside her apartment in Queens. Reports claimed dozens of neighbors heard her screams and did nothing. The story was later found to be exaggerated, but the question it raised stuck. How can people who care still fail to act? Psychologists John Darley and Bib Latane built an experiment to find out. A participant sat alone, listening through an intercom to what sounded like someone having a seizure. Some believed they were the only listener. Others believed several people were listening too. When participants thought they were alone, 85% helped. When they believed others were also listening, that dropped to 31%. Same emergency, same sounds, different behavior. What changed was a number quietly sitting in the back of their mind. How many other people they believed were also there. Your brain runs a calculation during emergencies, and it has little to do with empathy. The first part is diffusion of responsibility. Alone, the full weight sits on you. Surrounded by others, your mind quietly redistributes it. Someone else will probably handle it. The second part is social proof. In ambiguous moments, you read other people's calm as information. If a man falls and nobody reacts, your brain doesn't conclude people are callous. It concludes nothing serious is happening. The stillness of the crowd becomes evidence. Which means a room full of caring people can produce a room full of inaction, each person reading everyone else's silence as permission for their own. Psychologist Bib Latane later expanded this into social impact theory. As the number of witnesses grows, personal responsibility shrinks, and not evenly. Going from one bystander to two cuts your sense of duty sharply. Going from 10 to 11 barely changes anything. The first witness matters enormously. Every witness after that matters less. Why would evolution build a brain that hesitates exactly when speed matters most? For most of human history, you didn't live around strangers. You lived in bands of 50 to 150 people, almost all known to you, bound by years of shared obligation. If you saw a threat, you didn't need to solve it alone. The group already had an unspoken division of labor. Someone was already positioned to respond, and you knew who. Diffusing responsibility wasn't a flaw back then. It was efficient, because the people around you could be trusted to actually catch the weight. Your ancestors weren't built for 40 strangers on a platform. They were built for 15 people whose names they'd known since birth. That's the mismatch. Modern life surrounds you with more witnesses than your brain has ever processed, and fewer real bonds than it has ever had to work with. Your ancient social calculator has no good way to price in a stranger. Here's the twist most people miss. This isn't apathy. In the original experiments, people who failed to help weren't calm about it. Many showed real physical distress, shaking hands, trembling voices once the test ended. They weren't indifferent. They were frozen by a calculation running faster than conscious thought, which raises an uncomfortable question. If people who deeply care can freeze just from the presence of others, what does that say about the meeting where you disagreed but stayed quiet? The group chat where something felt wrong, but no one else reacted, so you didn't either. You weren't being cruel. You were running the same ancient math, counting silent witnesses, reading their stillness as permission. The research also shows what breaks the spell: specificity. Darley and Latane found that diffusion collapses the moment responsibility becomes personal. Point at one bystander, say, "You, call an ambulance," and compliance jumps. Not because that stranger became braver, because the calculation changed. There was no longer a crowd to hide inside. So picture that platform again. 40 people, frozen, each waiting for someone else to move first. It looks like a story about indifferent strangers. It's really a story about you, scaled up. The same circuitry nudges you towards silence in meetings, towards scrolling past instead of speaking up, toward assuming someone else already called for help. Someone collapses on a crowded platform. 40 people are standing right there. The real answer to why nobody moves was never about who they are. It was always about how many of them there were.